Okay, welcome to this video where we'll be having a look at this completely new software, On1 RAW, which is basically a pre-release. There's a lot of bugs in this which they know about and will be put right in December for the final release. So let's have a quick look and see how it works and what it's all about basically. First of all, on the left hand side, towards the top left there, we've got Browse. On the right, far right, we've got Browse, Develop, Effects, Layers and Resize. So these are the main areas. So the buttons on the right, when you click on these, they go to these different areas. At the moment we're on Browse, and on the right hand side that will show us our local drives. So these are the local drives that I've got installed. Also cloud storage, which is nice. If you've got Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, you can use these as well to actually access your images. So that's something a little bit different from most. You can create albums by dragging for a new album and putting photos into albums. So this is completely new. I've just actually put this on the machine, so there's not been used on this machine whatsoever. So first of all, I'm going to go to my folder. So the Samsung folder is where I've got my pictures and 2016. And the nice thing about it is you get previews of the actual folder, so you can see what's inside the folder. That's really nice. I like that touch. So I'm going to double click on this one. And there we get our images. You can see how quick that actually was. It's displayed really fast. So we'll have a look at a little bit of editing on these images. I'm just scrolling through and see if I can find something suitable. Let's have a look. So let's go for one of these where the light isn't fantastic on them. It may be a bit of shadow on this one. So I'm going to double click on that one. We'll bring this one up. So a bit of a tricky lighting in this, which is why I've actually brought this photo up. We've got some quite light areas on there, some shadow areas and whatever. So from this stage now, where we're in the browse stage, we now go over to the right and I'll click on Develop. And that will bring up the Develop tools. Very similar to Lightroom, where we've got the sliders, we've got exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. Structure in Lightroom, that's probably the equivalent to clarity. Haze, which is a new addition in Lightroom, included in this. We've got the colour, so we've got ash shots, and we've got presets on there, the normal presets, and you can see when I put the mouse over straight away without clicking, I get a quick view of what those actually presets look like. So that's quite nice. Okay, so I'm going to click on Auto. Looks quite good actually, so I'll click on Auto. Then we'll have a look further down and we've got the purity, so for the highlights and the shadows. And what that does, it gives more purity to the highlights, so it creates the highlights to be more white and the shadow areas as well. If you drag that up, the shadow areas, you can see almost turning grayscale on that. We've got reduce vibrance on skin. Now when we're actually using photos of people, we can reduce the vibrance on skin so that it doesn't affect the skin colours too much. And that also is something on the sharpening, which we'll see later, so that when you're sharpening images, you can apply a tick to that and it will actually not sharpen skin tones too much, so that you get that horrible, you know, glaring blotchy face or whatever when you're editing portraits. Now, you don't see a lot to start with. So if there was other things we wanted to look on here, we'd have to use the show more button. And I quite like that because we're just looking at what we want to see basically, and we can show what we want to see. So when I click on that, you can see that we've got black and white, sharpening, colour adjustment, skin retouching, curves, split tone, glow, transform, noise reduction and vignette. So these are all extra things we can show on the screen when we need them. Just take that away for the moment. Okay, so let's just have a look at how we perform with this photo. So first of all, highlights aren't too bad. We could probably bring those down a bit because they're a bit, as we get a bit more now on the highlights. The blacks I'm going to take down because we've got this hazy like appearance on the sun. You can see straight away that's bringing a bit more contrast into the picture. Now something we haven't got yet, if we look at the very top of the screen, is the histogram. There is a histo on there, and you can see that's coming soon. So there's still a lot that isn't there at the moment. Same with the crop tool isn't available. So this really is a pre-release. It's like a beta version, if you want to put it like that. And that's basically what they're saying. They know there's bugs, but they want people to see what it's capable of. And it's capable of very good things, as you can already see already as a raw editor. It's really brought that picture to life already. I'm just going to probably bring up the whites just slightly, keeping the highlights down and the whites up. And we've got that bit more detail in the grass down there. If we take the shadows up, probably bring that down, so I want to bring a bit of shadow into the image. That's fine. So we've got that. So that's basically very similar to Lightroom. Something you can also do in Lightroom is to make local adjustments, but I quite like the way that this program does this. So if we click on local adjustments, we have a similar type thing, but what we can actually do with this is to add it basically where we want it. So you can see there's a brush selected over here. So let's just say I want to bring down, let's say I want to bring a bit of shadow out on this deer on the left there. So I can take the exposure up slightly and I can click and paint on this area. And yes, that's overboard, but you'll see in a moment we can adjust that. So I'm just going to very quickly do this. I mean, you take your time, obviously. Now, if I want to get the opposite, I can make the brush smaller or larger by using the same keys as you'd use in Photoshop, or there's a size up here where you can drag the size and alter the size with the slider. So I'll do it that way. I'll bring that down a little bit. I really don't like this way. I'll show you in a better way actually. If you look at your keyboard, you've got the enter key, and to the left of the enter key or the return key, you've got the curly bracket keys. And using those, the one on the left will make the brush larger, the one on the right will make the brush larger, the one on the left will make it smaller. Now if I hold down the Alt key, this will paint the opposite, so we get a minus rather than a plus, and I can take out these areas that I've painted over. So you can see I've made the brush smaller. I'm just going over these areas. And you'd obviously take a little bit more time than me. So you can see we've made that much lighter, and we can also change, now when we change the exposure, because we're on the local, you can see I can make it darker, I can make it lighter, I can get it exactly how I want it without affecting the rest of the image, and I find that a much easier, more simplistic way than in Lightroom, where you have to click on the brush and then you go in and, you know, it's really not so nice as this. So I'm just going to get rid of that area there. So there's pluses in this for me anyway to using Lightroom, and I'm a big Lightroom fan, so I'm not biased in any way. I am really liking what I've seen about this program. So let's get a bit more there. which really changed the image already. So you can see we're getting a much better image on there. So if we just look on that, and I click on reset all, that's what it looked like before. And I'll just press Command Z and get it back. So you can see one hell of a difference. It really is very nice the way it's laid out. I like the sliders. I like the fact you've got the local adjustments, which is nice and easy to use, nothing too complex. We can go back to overall settings. Now, another great feature about this program is that everything is combined in here. With On1 software, you used to have the effects and everything, and really you had to go out of the one. There was no raw development as such, so you had to go into Lightroom, say, and then get your picture more or less how you want it. There were some basic settings, but nothing fantastic like now with non-destructive editing like we've got with the raw file. You couldn't do that before. But on the right hand side now we've got these buttons where we can go to effects, so I can click on effects, and what I get is some presets on the left hand side of the screen there. Haze reducing, people, all these different categories. You've also got filters. So we'll just look at one. We'll look at the HDR look, which I quite like in On1. It's quite a natural one. Now the one I usually use, but I alter, is the glow one. So I'm going to click on that, and straight away you can see that's applied I don't really need to do much with that. It's put a really nice effect on there. But should we need to, we've got these sliders. So without going out of the program whatsoever, I've just clicked on these buttons. We've got layers and whatever. We can switch from one to the other. So I can say, okay, I'm happy with that, but I want to make some more adjustments to the actual developing side. I can just click back on develop, and once again I can tweak until my heart's content and get exactly what I want on there. Now when we go back, we'll look on there. So if I go back to browse now, you can see we've got the image there now with all the adjustments. And what we could do is if we say, well, I'd like to go to an external editor now. You know, I've done some effects in here, but I would like to go in Photoshop. I want to put my name on there or whatever. And you want to use the Photoshop. The nice thing about this, once we get back to the browse area, if we go to File, you can see all the different options I've got on here. Now, I've got Send to Lightroom. I've got Photoshop elements, analog effects, all the programs that I've got on here, basically HDR effects, all the programs I've got on here, I can actually send it directly to that program, or I can send to other application and set up say if I've got Photoshop, I get the name of it now, there's any other graphic software that you've got, you can set it up by clicking send to other application and picking the program or the application that you've got, depending of course whether you've got a PC or a Mac. It would be sent to other program, I'd imagine, on a PC. You've got export and you've got print. So masses of different ways we can use this program. So let's just say, okay, send to Adobe Photoshop, and we'll just make sure that works. And we get a choice, edit a copy with the settings applied. So it applies any setting and the edits to the copy, or we could just edit the original photo without the settings on there. So obviously in this case we want to keep the settings, so we click on edit, and it creates a file. It loads it into the image render. So it takes a little while. And it should eventually There you go, it's saving the composite now as a PSD file, a Photoshop file. And it should open up, magically open up Photoshop for us. And there we go. Photoshop is now loading. And we're now in Photoshop. It'll take a little while for the image to, it's quite a big image. It's a full-size file. There we go. So we're in Photoshop. So we've done a lot of the basic editing and we're in Photoshop. But let's say, okay, well, I've done all that, but I still want to use On1 RAW. Well, the beauty of On1 RAW is also a filter. So if we go to the filters now in Photoshop, when we install the program, it will, actually it's not on there, it's File, Automate, I think. Okay, where am I? It's auto. Actually, if you got the latest version of Photoshop which I haven't installed on there, you can go to File, Automate, and it's on there, and you can go to Filter, and it's on there. But in this case, I can see now it's put it in a little icon on the right hand side, so it's actually in the workspace, I imagine. So let me just see, Window, Workspace, Extensions. Yeah, it's on Extensions, so we can see that it's got On1 there. It is on the Extensions, and it's also put a little icon I've just noticed down here, On1. So it will load up the extensions there. So clicking that would get me to the filter. Okay, so we can do whatever we want to do now in Photoshop and save the file or whatever. You can obviously save the file as well directly from the program, but it just shows you that it's nice, it works with all the other programs. It will allow you to bring up the photographs and work that way. So I'll just quit Photoshop. It's nice to test it out and make sure that it does actually load up. I'll just go back to RAW straight away there. So there we go. When we zoom in, it does render a little bit. So looking at that 1:1. And I probably would have sharpened them a little bit, which I haven't done. So we can go back to that. If we go back to develop, we can click on show more, and we click on sharpening, and that will bring up my sharpening tools. It puts an effect on straight away. You can select which one you want, what type, unsharp mask. You can say how much halo and how much amount of sharpening you want on there. You can protect the highlights. You can protect skin, as I was saying earlier. So it will take off any sharpening on the skin areas, skin tones. So many different features. Okay, so that's our first look at On1. In the future, we'll be looking at many more. Hopefully, when the full version comes out, and we can test everything to see what its abilities are. But I'm really happy with the program. It's looking really good. I think Adobe have got some real competition.